It's time for breaking bread with Papa. Hey, don't you know? Hey, it's also a show. Hey.
Would you say you smoked 2 cigarettes?
Smoked a few when I was in Rome.
Oh, yeah.
Rome, Croatia, Paris.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I've never smoked in my life, but I just saw everyone smoking, and I was like, I want to smoke.
Yeah, it looks like the coolest thing in the world. Were you good at it, or did you feel like...
I smoke weed here and there, so actually it killed me because when you inhale, marijuana, it's different than when you inhale tobacco.
Yeah, exactly.
I feel like I'm on I feel like I'm in the movie or like the song, Billy Joel, Little Italian Restaurant.
Yeah. Bottle of red,
bottle
of white. That back of that album, that was the Stranger album.
Yeah.
And the back of that album is him at this table, very similar to this. And that was the Supreme Macaroni Company in New York, which was right by the Port Authority.
Yeah.
And my father used to take me there it was great.
Yeah.
In the front, it just looked like this rundown, like pasta shop. And then you'd walk through that, and in the back was the restaurant.
Had to be.
Cats walking around. There was just like old ladies as the servers. And it was just classic. It was so great. And my father had been taking me there for years. And then when that album came out, or when I was conscious of the album, I was like, oh, that's the place.
Yeah.
That's the place. And it's since been mowed down. It's not there anymore.
Yeah, a lot of... If it would have went to COVID, it probably wouldn't have survived either.
No, I know.
So many of the great restaurants I went to in New York.
Gone.
I used to go to this place, Cafe Assisi, in, I think, Rentham, Massachusetts. And when you said a cat walking by, that's when you know you're in an old Italian spot.
Absolutely.
Because this place used to have a couple cats just walking by.
Yeah.
And he's sitting back eating a chicken parm and...
Yeah.
Oh, how you doing?
Yeah, and they're not... Oh, all right. I guess I should feed you. Is it how much... I mean, you're so... your career in that one city means so... Like, Joey's from Massachusetts, and he's been freaking out from the minute I did your podcast. He was like, please, can he come in? So he's probably wet himself already. When you leave and move out and go to another place, how much of your heart is still in the place that you built your career?
Well, it's so crazy because I remember going to Boston for like my first 3 years, and I felt like I was, really away from home.
Yeah.
And then as soon as I started establishing myself and getting comfortable and embracing it, now when I leave Boston, I feel like I'm leaving home. And anytime I go back probably once, twice, every couple months, every other month.
Yeah.
I still have a lot of friends there, a lot of charities that I work with. We just did the Gronk's pickleball tournament that helps the Jimmy Fund and the Dana-Farber Foundation and the Gronk Foundation. So, I have a lot of relationships there.
Yeah.
And I try to get back as much as possible.
But is it like for the guy who lives there, like Joey's uncle say, or, they never leave. It means so much. Like as much as athletes, I'm a Yankee fan, and it's like, I loved the Yankees growing up and all that kind of stuff. And I realize as an adult, it means so much more to the Yankee fan than it does to the Yankee. You know what I mean? Like, it's important to them, but for a totally different way. You're at work, you're doing your thing and your career. But the guy is just sitting there listening to talk radio nonstop. Mm-hmm. And I mean, it's just like that level. Like it's a different world.
It is, but I came from the Bay Area, and I love the San Francisco 49ers.
Right.
Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, Steve Young, Brent Jones, Tom Rathman.
Yeah.
And I remember being that guy.
Right.
That fan.
Yeah.
As a kid, waiting for the players to walk off the field just in case they might throw a glove or sign something.
Yeah.
And so when I got to Boston, and I took pride in playing for a city like Boston.
Yeah.
It's Boston, New York, Chicago, these big cold cities, Philadelphia's in there.
Yeah.
These people love pro sports.
Yeah.
You know, and it's an honor to get to go and have success with the franchise in a city like that. But Boston, you know, I feel like, you know, I take pride in it too.
Yeah.
I grew up there. I go there when I'm 22 years old, and I leave when I'm 34, 35.
Yeah, God.
You know, so like a lot of the life lessons that you learn after being a teenager, I learned in Boston. So
Right. Cold is a key word.
cold.
The place is for comedy too.
Yeah.
You go to a place that has shitty weather,
Funny people.
funny people, and they appreciate being inside. Like you do a show in San Diego, it's like, yeah, it's cute. But our life is pretty amazing when you're not here.
It's like the NFL, you know. Everyone was saying that with teams coming to LA.
Yeah.
You know, you have to compete with a lot.
Yeah.
Out in these warm cities. You're competing with the beach, you're competing with
Yeah.
you know, extreme sports, you're competing with movies and you know, it's just different when you're in a cold city.
Yeah.
You work your 9 to 5, you come home,
Yeah.
you drink your beer,
It's dark.
you watch the Red Sox game. You only know what season it is according to what sport is on the TV.
Right, exactly.
Like that's the city you want to play for.
Yeah.
And you know,
Yeah.
I would always, when it got real cold,
Uh-huh.
you know, I would go out to the warmer state to train and stuff. But
Yeah.
I never got the brunt of that. You know, it's usually a couple times I had to stay back when I had surgeries, but it's that February, March, April that is brutal.
Right.
Because there's a little hope with that 50-day.
I know.
That 52-day, you see people walking out in Boston in flip-flops and shorts.
Yeah.
And you get slammed with a nor'easter.
I know. That just happened to me last week there.
Yeah.
Yeah. My daughters are going to school back east.
Yeah.
And they've been living here predominantly. And my daughter's just like, you could just feel like it's April and it hasn't given them the relief that they want yet.
Are they're California kids?
Yeah, we're from New York, but then we were back and forth forever,
Okay.
but then landed in LA like for the rest of their schooling, like junior high, high school. And they're like, no, we're going to East Coast. And it's a thing.
Yeah, I mean, I got a little girl, and you know, it'll be 58 degrees here, and you know, we're in there in a parka, and people are wearing scarves.
I know.
And it's just like
You lose it.
You do.
You do.
But you don't get used to that cold at all.
No, I know. We talk about going back to New York, and I'm like, I don't know if I could. I'd have to keep my spot out here so I could leave.
I feel like it's been mild the last few years.
Well, yeah, they were all talking about. I mean, everywhere I tour, like Minnesota, Canada, they're like, it's not so bad anymore. It's like this global warming thing is
Could be
kind of working out. All right, I have a question for you from another fan who's probably a more a fan than Joey. This is I got a text from Matt Damon yesterday.
Did you?
Yeah.
Did you tell him I'm mad at Ben Affleck?
No.
No.
Oh, from
He was just talking some shit like 5 years ago about the Patriots receiver corp, and I was still there.
what? He was?
Yeah, but he didn't. It wasn't. I was just. It's been a running joke.
It's funny.
Try to get him on my podcast.
Yeah. The hell, Ben.
Fucking Ben.
Fucking Ben. He cut me out of his last movie.
Did he?
Yeah.
We just
Son of a bitch.
Gronk and I just did a parody
Oh, yeah.
on Good Will Hunting.
Oh, you did?
Oh yeah, so it's good. It comes out soon. I don't think I can give too many details, but it's going to be fun. I was Damon and he was Affleck.
That's great.
So
That's really funny already.
we'll see how it turns out.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. Well, you know, they do love you, but I was like, so what should I ask from you? And he said, there's a great clip of him. I bet you find it on YouTube. I think it's the Seattle Super Bowl where he got so concussed that he runs back to the huddle, and as they're on the game-winning drive, all he keeps doing is running into the huddle and telling everyone how much he loves them. So I guess the question is, what's a good question you could spin out of that is, do you always love your teammates that much, or is it only when you have been used like a weapon grade, when you have a weapon grade concussion that brings out how much you love them in the softer side of you? Did you love them that much, or was it the concussion talking?
I don't think it was the concussion. I didn't have a concussion, Matt. All right. Okay. It was one of those things where it was the final drive of a game.
Yeah.
It was one of those things where you just, hey, boys, I love you. These are the guys you put the hard work in, you get yelled at with, you're banged up in the training room with, you're in the weight room with. You see your teammates more than you see your family.
Right.
During a football season.
Yeah.
Like, a lot more.
Yeah.
And so when guys are feeling down, when guys are on a high, when guys need a pick-me-up.
Yeah.
And I don't know, one of those times, like, let's put the women and children to bed. Still looking for dinner, boys. I love you all. I don't think it was the concussion.
Nice.
And it was my hip that was hurting on that play.
Oh, it was your hip.
Yeah. So I took on that drive, it was like, he's talking about a 3rd and 14 where I took a shot from Cam Chancellor across the middle.
Right.
And then I tried to get up and run. And then at the end of the play, I struggled getting up.
Right.
On the punt return right before that, I took a helmet right to the hip, and I don't wear hip pads. And so my hip, when you have a hip pointer, your hip singes up.
Yeah.
All your muscles tighten up. But for each play, your adrenaline, you can go.
Yeah.
But then as soon as your adrenaline goes down from the, you're going back to the huddle, everything tightens back up. So, it looks like I stumble and fall, but really, like, if you look, I'm like hitting my hip, and I'm like, ah.
Right. Trying to get it. Well, that's a great answer. The love part.
He always like.
He also says that guy was so tough, and he's like my size. I mean, just fighting the good fight for us average size guys. It is pretty remarkable to watch your career just from a kid. Like, you were a little quarterback. You were a little kid. But I knew guys like you, like when I was playing football, like through whatever, and you were always the most troublesome, because you're like, okay, that guy's going to kill me. That giant guy's going to kill me. That guy, who's that little guy? Okay. And then I remember this one game specifically where this little guy came out and he just gunned it for I was a defensive end, and he just gunned it for my thigh, and he was such a powerhouse, and play one, he took my thigh out of the game. Yeah. And I was like, this son of a, he was an undercover badass. Yeah. And you had that from day one? Like, did you have that attitude? Did you have that thing, like, from, I mean, it looks like you're very young when you were already kicking ass.
Yeah. I mean, I grew up with an older brother that was like 7 years older than me.
Oh, boy.
And so, he used to just whoop my ass. And, I was every WWF character back then, now WWE, yeah, for him to practice tricks on. And, when you're 7 and someone else is 14.
Yeah.
And, your mom makes your older brother lug you around on the bike, so you got tough. I would get beat up by all his friends. So I was never scared of anything.
Right.
And even though I was undersized in high school, I looked at it like, all right, dude, I'm 14. I have a 21-year-old brother that beats me up. I
can kill you.
Yeah, you're 8 inches taller than me, but if I get that first hit and you're going down. Yeah. So, and like that little guy that hits you in your thigh, you got to be willing to just take her out.
Yeah.
I grew up on the football field. My dad was a football coach. And I remember before I was even old enough to play,
yeah,
being in the drill lines with the guys that,
Right.
we're doing the drills.
Yeah.
So I always had a football IQ,
Mm-hmm.
and then just a recklessness, that fine line between reckless and aggressive. Like I flirted with that a lot.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's kind of like a fighter pilot.
I think some of that is built in. I think some of that is
Yeah.
hardwired. Like you worked it and you had these, like your dad and your brother. But don't you think that there's also, you just showed up that way?
Definitely.
Right?
And it was crazy. When I called my dad to let him know I was, I wanted to retire. He goes, "You finally smartened up." You know what I mean? And that's what it. I always had that I could do.
Yeah.
Wasn't scared.
Mm-hmm.
Prove them wrong.
Yeah.
And it gets to the point where you get to an age and you're like, you calculate, I don't think I can do that anymore.
Right.
So
Right.
there's definitely a couple screws missing, and you need to have that. And my dad said, I said fighter pilot because we were talking about it, and when I told him, he goes, that's what they used to say about fighter pilots. The day that they feel like they can't hit that line of recklessness, they got to retire.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so
when you had sports to kind of put that all in, and that's where you were proving it and stuff. If you didn't have that, you think you would have been in like bar fights every week?
No, I probably would have been probably a parts boy at my dad's shop.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Vacuuming and cleaning windows after the service cars.
Right.
Making sure the grease spots of the mechanic were wiped down.
Yeah.
That was an old summer job I had a couple times. So, it's one of those things where I've always worried about what's been on my plate at that time, instead of, thinking about the past, which gives you stress, and thinking about the future, which gives you anxiety.
Right.
And it's always led me to good things. So,
yeah.
It's tough to always walk down that road of what would you have done if you didn't do this?
Yeah. Did you have, at what point do you go from, all right, I can do this as a kid, to, no, I think I can take this all the way? Like, is there a point where you're like, is it from day one where you're like, I'm gonna go all the way, or
Well, for me, I thought, I was always a confident kid, and I always believed in my ability, but I was never the biggest guy, never the fastest guy. So there's always so many people out there, or there's a better guy on the team than me that they thought was a better guy.
Yeah.
That I always had to get into like a competition mode. And like I said, I always thought about that, and I would get obsessive, and I wanted to do what I had to do to make myself feel like I belonged.
Right.
And, it wasn't, after my last game in college at Kent State, we were playing against Buffalo, University of Buffalo. I was walking off that field thinking it could have been my last game. Just because I was an undersized quarterback. I played in the MAC. Yeah, I was very athletic, and I ran for a lot of yards. I threw for a decent amount of yards. But, it was very possible that that could have been my last play.
Yeah.
And then I went and hired an agent, and CFL, bought my negotiation rights, the British Columbia Lions, and I thought about, potentially going to play quarterback in Canada, and, my agent said, I always had good people in my corner that supported me, that gave me confidence when I needed. And at that time, it was my agent, Don Yee. And he said, if you get onto a NFL team, get you into a camp, it's going to be very hard to cut you. So I heard that. And then that's when I was like, I can do this. I can do this.
Right.
Because
that's the same thing you've been thinking your whole life.
Yep. A whole life. Then you get drafted. I was drafted in the 7th round,
and they drafted you as a receiver.
Drafted me as Belichick, when he got on the phone during the draft, he goes, I don't really know what you're going to play, but you can play football. See you rookie camp.
Right.
So it was one of those things, like athlete.
Yeah.
And when they worked me out, usually during the draft process, you'd go to the combine. I wasn't invited to the combine. which is bullshit.
Yeah, how come? Why?
I'm white.
Oh, really?
I don't know.
Like we got 6 of them.
Yeah. No, I don't know. I mean, I had some pretty.
How does that work? How do you get selected for the combine?
You know, the scouts they come up with a list and they invite you.
And you have an agent that like throws your hat in the ring and.
No, your agent talks up, and they're trying to talk to see if they can get you in there. For guys like me, the combine is huge because it can give you a bump,
right?
Especially what's this guy play, what's his speed, and so if you don't go to the combine, you have your pro day,
right?
And at the pro day, the scouts come and they watch you there at your pro day, and at our pro day we had like 10, 15 scouts, and. At that time they were, the Steelers worked me out as a corner. The Packers worked me out as a running back. Patriots were there. Miami was there. They all wanted to see what I could do because at that time in 2009, the Wildcat just had that big bump in 2008 with Ronnie Brown and Ricky Williams. Remember that?
Yeah.
In Miami. So
yeah.
It was one of those blips and those phases of the NFL where a lot of teams are like, well, this guy can run,
right?
But he also could throw, so we could have a couple packages in for him. Maybe he could be a special teamer.
Yeah.
And so the Patriots came out and they first sent out, after the pro day, you get workouts individually by teams.
Uh-huh.
So they first sent out Ivan Fears, their running backs coach, just to see, they thought I could be a third down running back.
Right.
And I don't know what he said, but he made me do some running back drills and he saw I could catch the ball or something. Put me up on the chalkboard. I thought I ruined it, because they make you break down protections and schemes and everything. They put a play on there and then they'll talk to you and then they say, draw the play up. You're this. What do you got to do? They're trying to see how you can compute and can you take in an NFL day where you take scheme to drill to class. You know what I mean?
Jeez.
So they try to test you, and I thought I bombed that, but. A week later, they sent out their special teams coach, Scotty O'Brien, to see if I could catch punts. And they, sent out another coach to see if I could catch routes. And then after that process, I got worked out by a few other teams. You usually go on visits. So then they fly you out to the organization so their doctors can take a look at you. So you could take a look at it's interview. It's like the interview process. And I got flown out by 3 or 4 teams, and Patriots didn't fly me out. And I'm like, oh, well, I guess they don't like me. You know what I mean? And then, on draft day, they drafted me. So
wow, and without going.
Without going.
Interesting.
Well, it could have been one of those things where they didn't want to show people. There's so many.
Yeah.
Freaking
right.
mind
Yeah,
games.
they're up
if
to
they're
something.
Interested, maybe you could sneak this guy.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Wow. Because your numbers, if you had gone to the combine,
my 3-cone or my 5.10.5 would have been the best that year.
Really,
my 3-cone would have been the best that year. My long shuttle was probably up there.
Amazing.
My 40 was not like lightning.
Is that wild? It's weird. It's always weird how things just kind of happen for a reason. Like you kind of come under the radar, and you end up with them. Like if you had gone and people saw those numbers, who knows where you would have gone and what kind of program you would have been. Like it could have changed everything.
Well, they all saw them. They all get the printout. So once one scout goes out to your pro day, then they flag.
Everybody starts to see it.
They start to see.
Yeah.
So, everything happens for a reason.
You knew you could catch. You always had good hands.
Quarterbacks always say they have the best hands on the team.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because you catch the ball every play, or you have the ball in your hands at all times.
Right.
Which I learned is different when you're running full speed. You have a linebacker in front of you and a guy chasing you.
Right.
So it took some time to learn.
Yeah.
And you didn't realize when you run full speed, your eyes bounce. So the ball, you got to learn how to track balls.
That's crazy.
So,
yeah, I had horrible hands. My father would take me out and throw passes, and he would just laugh. Every time I tried to catch it, or if it went off my head, it was like stone hands.
Stone hand. Two left feet for hands.
Oh, so brutal.
That's why you were playing tackle.
Yeah.
Or at the end, you said.
Defensive end, yeah. Fullback for a while in my badass school.
Fullback.
Yeah.
Dying breed.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, will that come back? Is it possible? Could there be some fullback who's so good that it starts to change the direction of a team?
I don't think that is the case, but I think that when people are zigging, there's going to be other teams that are trying to zag. For example, linebackers when I first got in the NFL were 255, 260, 245, big guys.
Right.
To plug up the run game. Now linebackers 225, 230 pounds where, you could have a guy who's 200 pounds going and just occupy him. He's not going to block him great.
Right.
Which that's a receiver sometimes.
Uh-huh.
So, a fullback, and if you start seeing teams, you look at the 49ers, they have a very utilized fullback with Juszczyk, a guy that could play a lot of spots, but also when you need to get that yard against a small box, meaning the front seven, there could be a team that does that. There's always a team or two. There's probably 4 or 5 teams that still use fullbacks, but
right,
because the game has become such a space game, spread them and shred them.
Yeah,
it's kind of been a dying breed.
So it's kind of a blessing I didn't go all the way because I'd be just riding the bench.
No, you'd be on special teams. A lot of fullback.
Right.
If you're a fullback, you got to be playing special teams.
Right.
Core teamer.
Yeah. Did you like special teams?
Love special teams.
Yeah.
Love special teams.
That speed is just so reckless.
Yeah.
And just if you have the ability, it's got to be fun.
It is, but it's a grind.
Yeah.
I used to love covering kicks on kickoff and returning punts and played PP for, a little while, and I always backed up that. Did some kickoff returns. It's a live play.
Yeah.
Those are the guys that teamers are guys that have to grind for a spot on that roster.
Right.
So every time they are only on the field maybe 6 to 12 times a game.
Yeah.
So every time they're on that field, those are war daddies.
Right.
Those guys button their helmet up, and they, when I first got in the league, you got guys that used to go up, and there would be 3 guys as a wedge, the big linemen, 300, your backup guards and stuff. They'd be the wedge guy for the kickoff, and you'd have guys that were the fastest guys on the team, and your job was you go as fast as you can, and you hit that mother even right in his chin with a 60-yard sprint. So,
God.
Teamers, man, you got to tip your cap to them. I was a teamer for a while.
Yeah.
And, those are guys that, help you win a lot of games.
Yeah. Were you, how does it feel on Monday? Like, how wrecked are you after, like when you were being used all the time and you were really like, an important part of the
20s to 26, not too bad.
Yeah.
You start dipping into your late 20s and you start getting into 30 and you had a big game.
Yeah.
I remember by the end of my career, I couldn't walk until Thursday.
Oof.
It's just, you get beat. It's like getting in a car wreck
just
every week. So it
hurts that much?
Yeah. You got to think about it. You're running full speed, 16 miles an hour, and you may not get hit hard, but you got hit.
Yeah.
And so you're going 16 to 19 miles an hour, and you just fall on the ground. You just jump out of a car.
Yeah.
And
jeez.
So it's a brutal sport. But with way guys have information and technology on recovering yourself with, all that. Back in the day, these guys had other jobs in the 70s.
Right.
You know what I mean? These guys smoking cigarettes in the locker room. Now, everyone's, it's gotten a lot in a better place for everyone. There'd be the guys like Jerry Rice that would take it serious, and you'd hear the folklore of how he trained, how he got better, and how he recovered. You never really knew. Now you can look it up anywhere.
Right.
So
yeah,
a lot of guys are taking a lot of pride in that because And if they're not in the league for very long.
Right.
So, it's definitely a brutal game.
Were you ever scared of anyone? Was there any player like that tagged you or like you or had a reputation?
I was never scared of anyone, but Ray Lewis used to hit me a bunch.
Oh God.
Yeah, he knocked me out of a game a couple times. He hit me so hard in the playoffs my rookie year on a touchdown. I scored a touchdown on like a scramble. He came in and tackled me, and he kneed my butt so bad that I had a hematoma, and they had to drain it after the game. And if we were to win that game, I probably wouldn't have been able to play because I literally had like one huge J-Lo booty cheek on my right. I couldn't sit down for 3 weeks. I had to wait like
3 weeks.
I had to wait like a week and a half to go back to the Bay Area because I couldn't get on a flight because of the donut it was bad.
Oh my God.
Then he knocked me out of a game once.
What does he look like when he's coming at you?
A monster.
Like just gigantic, like a building?
Yeah.
Like a minivan?
Like a person with 2 houses as calves running very fast.
Oh my God.
No, I've gotten to know Ray. We were teammates on Inside the NFL for 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's been so funny to get to bust his balls about that and and got on everyone but Ray because I knew exactly what he could do to me.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, because he did it.
He did it. The second time he hit me when I was going across the middle, Brady probably shouldn't have thrown that one. But I dropped it. But he hit me so hard. I got up. I started walking to the Ravens sideline, and Haloti Ngata goes, "Hey, buddy, your sideline's that way." I was like, "Oh shit! All right, thanks, dude."
Jeez.
They took my helmet away on that one. So Matt Damon, that was a concussion. All right, dude.
There you go, man. Yeah, it's got to be insane. I mean, you guys are all insane. There's just a different level of fearlessness, but you also know what you're capable of doing.
Yeah, but that's kind of like me going and having to do this Tom Brady roast.
Right.
I think you guys are insane. I'm terrified of going and doing. I have to do 5 minutes.
Yeah, but if it goes wrong, the only thing gets hurt is your feelings. I'm not gonna have a giant J-Lo booty butt. It's terrifying in a different way.
Sometimes your mental health is more than your physical health.
Yeah, that is true. No. I'd much rather have anxiety than have Ray Lewis on my back.
Touche.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I remember just like, I mean, it's so silly to talk about high school football with you, but like there was guys that were just so much bigger who like were going on to do great things. Yeah. And they just showed up among us. And it was like, how do you even approach trying to block that guy or tackle that guy? It just seemed like, and then you get up into the pros, it's nothing but those guys.
Yeah. But I think it goes back to like being the undersized guy, seeing that guy that you're talking about.
Yeah. That
thought he was cool because he was the biggest guy in high school. But then when he gets to people the same size as him, he doesn't know what to do.
Right.
So.
Yeah. Levels it all out.
Levels it all out.
Yeah. How is your head? Like you're so driven and so, for your whole life to do this thing, and then you do it. When you get spit out the other end, and you've got Super Bowls and you've got MVPs, and you did it. You did all of it.
Yeah.
Was that a shift? Like what? Like, was it satisfying?
I was satisfied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good to hear.
If you asked me my rookie year, I'd have the career that I've had. Mm-hmm. I probably wouldn't be able to think that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? With what everything I had to do to get to where I got.
Mm-hmm.
So I was definitely satisfied. But when you're an athlete, you're a creature of habit.
Yeah.
I had the same routine essentially since I was 8 years old.
Yeah.
You get up, you go to school, you come home, you go to practice, you do it again.
Right.
Now school was just replaced with football school when you go into the NFL or college. So I had that same routine. So when you're out, you learn that you have to create your own routine.
Yeah.
And to be productive. And I also, I put myself in a situation, with all the little things we used to do off the field, that I had, doors open to go do other things that I was interested in. So,
yeah,
instead of feeling that emptiness, I got that anxiety because I was about to do something new,
right.
TV, podcast.
Yeah.
So it came, I got those same feelings as when I showed up to New England. Like, what do I do now?
Right.
It's that sense of uncomfortable.
Yeah.
That it sucks, but usually you have to make yourself uncomfortable to have the best results or things happen in life.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, there has to be some suffering.
So happily miserable.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a way of life.
I know. Once you're comfortable, it's like something's not right.
No, something happens.
Yeah. Amazing. You working out all the time?
I work out probably like four days a week.
Nice.
I box and I lift twice a week.
How much harder is your workout, you think, than Joey's?
I mean, Joey's pretty svelte. He could be one of those leverage strength guys. You never know. He could be in like an MMA, boxing, jiu-jitsu class where this guy gets you arm bar. So I mess with nobody that I don't know. Nowadays, you go to the little guy, he puts you in an arm bar, get you like a pretzel.
Yeah.
So,
no, it's not happening. Will you eat this bread, you think?
Oh, I'll eat it, yeah.
Yeah?
I live now.
You do live?
Yeah.
You're allowed to eat things. And
yeah.
How regimented were you nutritionally? Like
when I was playing?
Yeah.
Very.
Yeah.
I mean, I had a dietitian that would speak with, a chef that was in communication with, someone at practice to allow them to know how much I ran that day, to see how much I needed to refuel myself for that night.
Oh, really?
Yeah, everything was pretty dialed. I mean, you take all the tests to see what certain foods make your body have inflammation factors, things you need to stay away from, things you need, that your body adapts well and absorbs well. So, amazing. I mean, it's a full-time gig. And, being around Tom Brady, I learned a lot of that. Just.
Is it true that he knew, like, what he was going to eat, like, a year from now? Like, he was that planned out that he.
I don't know but he just ate the same things. So maybe.
Right.
He ate like a bird.
For real?
Yeah, like a lot of nuts, seeds.
Uh-huh.
And
he wouldn't use his hands?
No, he'd peck at it. No, so
really, a lot of nuts, a lot of seeds.
I mean, big smoothie guy. When you're an athlete, a lot of us, you're in between a meeting. Mm-hmm. You need a calorie. You need something nutritious that your body will absorb, and something that's good. So a lot of guys, slamming smoothies all day, protein smoothies with all the fruits, and everything in it.
Were you jealous of baseball players who just like would have their bellies hanging over their belt and still kicking ass?
With guaranteed contracts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. Those guys have a mental grind. I have a lot of respect for, baseball guys, because I played a lot of baseball growing up. And, I didn't have the mental levelness to be able to be bored for 4 hours and a ball doesn't come to you. You see a pitcher you get to hit once every 3 innings. Like, I needed something to run. I had too much ADD.
Right.
So I tip my hat to those sports that play a lot of games, because you got to have a competitive stamina, to be able to go through those seasons.
Right.
So it's all hard. Anyone's getting paid a lot of money to do something. It's hard.
What do you think of Caitlin Clark?
I mean, I have a daughter now, so I've been watching a lot more, female sports, and it's cool with a girl like her because, you know, your little daughter will be talking about her.
Yeah.
And it gives you an excuse to be able to watch something with her that you love.
Right.
Maybe to recruit her over.
Yeah.
to love it as well. So,
yeah.
you know, I think it's been great. I mean, I turned on the draft last night to watch her get drafted.
Amazing.
I watched a lot of the games, and I think it's great.
Yeah. She's changed it. She really punched through.
She has.
I mean, she's not she's the most recent one, but she did it in a way that, I mean, that final viewed more viewership than the men's.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
It is. And to see how she was able to perform while the whole world was watching her.
Yeah, God.
That's what's even more impressive, to see that she's an assassin.
Yeah.
You know, that's a lot. You know, there's one thing to do it when you're not expected to do it.
Right.
You know, when there's an expectation and you meet those expectations and even go higher than those expectations.
Yeah.
That's when you tip your cap. It doesn't matter what you are.
Yeah.
That's just a stud.
Because you do that, like, how is there, like, the night before when you have a big game and you know things are expected of you and you know there's going to be pressure and there's people writing articles about you and yapping about stuff on radio, like, how did you handle that mental part of it? Like, is it instinctual that you just kind of, like, go about your work, or, like, did you have, like, when you're brushing your teeth going, I don't know if I can do it?
No, it all depended on my week of preparation, the practice week.
Right.
And I can guarantee Caitlin Clark probably practiced her tail off.
Right.
And once you get to the game, for football at least, you had a great week of practice. You have your confidence that you built through practice.
Right.
You have your confidence in your teammates because you saw them do it well in practice. Once you get to the game, that's the easiest part.
Right.
You know what I mean? That's
right.
when you got the answers to the test. We know what we have to do. If we just execute at a high level, which we've already done.
Yeah.
And you visualize. Like the night before the game, I'd go over every play, every, package. You got your first down plays, your second down plays, your third down plays, your red area plays, your backed up plays, your 3-point plays, or your 4-point plays. You have like a huge menu of like 93 plays.
Right.
And you go through them and you've already repped them a lot.
Yeah.
But to like the night before, when you go over your play sheet and you visualize it, when you do it in a game, it's deja vu.
Really?
Yeah. You
it's
already
that
seen
effective. You've already seen it.
You've already seen it.
Wow.
And then you can instinctively play, and your subconscious knows because you practice it hard, you studied it.
Yeah.
So then your athleticism can come out naturally.
That is a pretty trippy thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty commonplace to hear people say, like, but that is pretty profound.
It is.
People have broken through and like, no, this is, our consciousness can go to work. Like, we can use this to achieve things.
We always used to say practice execution becomes game reality.
Yeah.
And we would do these walkthroughs and we'd all be fed up because we've done these plays a million times.
Right.
But anytime it was a gotta have it situation, a high pressure situation, the teams that I was on, we performed because of those walkthroughs, practices,
right.
and all that stuff. I mean, that's really the root of where success comes, is through your preparation.
Right. What did you learn from Brady about preparation?
I learned from Brady, his ability to compartmentalize was insane to me. Because as a younger football player, for me, I thought I was going to get cut after a bad practice.
Right. Yeah.
I mean, and that's how the league is.
Yeah.
And then you have a life outside of football.
Yeah.
That you have to deal with.
Right.
And to see how he was such a professional in not just his professional life, but with his family and how he handled his schedule and how everything was predicated towards family and football. I learned a lot from him just being a fly on the wall and watching him.
Right.
You know, and his preparation is second to none. Like, there's no one that prepares like him. You know, because like people always says, what is it like, you know, with Tom? And I just say, man, every time you would practice with him, it didn't matter what day it was in the year. We would meet up in February, late February, if we didn't make a Super Bowl, or March. And like, we're running a 2-minute drill, and we're like, not just getting the physical reps, but the mental reps of the things that we remembered from the year before that we messed up on something, or this drive here. You know, it's just that practicing with a purpose was something that, you know, I learned a lot from him. And also his steadiness. I mean, he was the same guy at work all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's tough for someone that, you know, everyone's looking at.
Yeah.
You know, for me, I was up and down, you know, fuck this.
Right, yeah.
You know, you're banged up, you're sore, you get cranky.
Yeah, of course.
You know, he was the same guy.
Wow.
All the time.
Yeah, like a robot.
Yeah, he's probably a serial killer.
Yeah, probably. We're going to hear about something about him
soon. Probably.
Who was the funniest in the locker room during those years?
Funniest?
Yeah. Were people allowed to be funny?
We had a lot of fun, okay? I know everyone has this narrative that the Patriots, okay, we had a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Okay, we just got bitched at, okay?
We just had a mean dad.
Yeah, mean dad. But he was a good dad.
He was a great dad.
We won a lot of games, you know, but we had a lineman, and he does radio out in San Diego, Rich Ornberger. Went to Penn State, and you know, he would get up on, like, I think Coach Belichick kept him around for the team morale for like 2 extra years because he was so funny.
Oh, really?
Like, we would literally have him go up, and he would tell us these stories about Penn State when he would be sneaking into the locker room. He'd draw a diagram up there, give us a Joe Pa impersonation. I mean, it was some funny stuff. Yeah. And the funny thing about him is we were drafted together.
Oh, yeah.
We're 22 years old, and he had a full head. He had full gray hair already.
Oh, really?
So I remember first day when all the veterans came into the locker room or into the team room. You know, you're there as a rookie for a little while by yourselves. You have an OT or a camp, mini camp, and then you work out. And first day, Randy Moss looks at them, and while you have to introduce yourself in front of the captains. It's kind of nerve-wracking. Yeah. You sit there, you see Randy Moss, you see Wes Welker, you see Tom Brady, Kevin Falk, Teddy Bruschi, and all these guys. Yeah. So it's embarrassing.
Of course.
And Ornberger gets up there, and he says, Rich Ornberger, Penn State, lineman. Randy Moss goes, that's a player? I thought that was a motherfucking coach out there. He was there for like 3 days with him. He thought he was a coach. I mean, there's
gray hair.
Granted, there was 92 guys on the team at the time because it's, you know, early in the season. There's 90 guys on the team. Yeah, but he was just a funny guy. Him and Rusty Benson, Ross Ventrone. He was a funny kid. We called him the suburban poet, where he would write poems, and sometimes after, you know, a long day, Bill would be like, you got a poem for us? And Rusty Benson, we called him. He'd go up there and he'd have these funny ass poems that made us all laugh. So
that's awesome.
There's some funny guys.
Yeah, there is a cool thing. Like, I remember reading when the Mets were rising, like in '86, right? And they just had this like pirate kind of attitude. Yeah. Like, they're coming to your town and they're going to mess you up, and they're going to drink in your bars. They're going to sleep with your women. There was just kind of this.
Sounds like the Raiders.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. There was like that thing though. There's like, did you, on the years that you weren't successful, like the, you know, Patriots not successful is, you know, not winning all of it. Could you see, was it a chemistry thing? Like, did you, the years that you did it, was there a tighter family? Was there a tighter brotherhood?
There was, but also some of the times, like I think one of the best teams I played on was probably our 15 team after we won the Super Bowl in 14. And we caught the injury bug late.
Right.
You know, you lose Nate Soldier, and then you lose Dion Lewis. I broke my foot. And it's one of those things where we all hear the ball has to bounce your certain way for you to go win a Super Bowl. And a lot of times you have to be healthy.
Yeah.
You know, and it's such a brutal game that, you know, sometimes, I mean, look at this last year, how many backup quarterbacks played, you know, a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
You know, so it's those teams that did win it, there was a confidence factor because you look around and we saw the guys that we needed there.
Yeah, still there.
The years that we didn't, little banged up.
Right.
You look around and, you know, people are probably second guessing or, you know, you never know. But,
yeah.
You know, I was on some really good, for the majority of my career, all of my career pretty much, we had a pretty good group of guys in the locker room. They did a good job of keeping the assholes out.
Right. And is that Belichick? Is that the...
I mean, I think it's a collective unit of Belichick and, you know, a lot of the guys that were helping him. So, definitely.
Did you ever relax and feel like I'm not going to get fired?
Yeah, I think it was after, like, my second Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're good. That's all it took.
It took 3 contracts and 2 Super Bowls. No, you know, the more plays you make, you get a little more comfortable. But
yeah,
you know, I think Coach Belichick, you know, when you walked in there and he walked in the room, your shoulders went back. Everyone, you know, was on high alert because he could test you at any moment. Any moment.
Right.
You know, and you did feel uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. But a lot of those teams that we went out and won, we were comfortable when we were uncomfortable because of little shit like that.
Right, yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
You know, it may not have been fun during the preparation, but I tell you know what's fun? Jumping down Boylston Street on a goddamn float, duck boat, in a parade with millions of people laughing.
Oh, my God.
Having a good time. That's fun.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, worth it. Joey, do you want to ask something? I know this means a lot to you, and you've been trying not to cough over there.
No, I'm sorry. I would ask you something if you don't mind. This came up on when Tom told me you were going on your podcast. I told him that when I was in high school playing sports, or maybe a little younger than that, but you sort of think about the pro athletes that get you going, get you fired up. You know, like he's working. He got where he wants to go. I want to be there. Would you feel that way about pro athletes when you were younger? And then does that sort of transform maybe into my opponents or my team, or it's all just me working at this point? I don't got to think about anybody else.
Yeah, that's a good question. When I was a kid,
good job, Joey.
You know, I was around the 49ers and the work ethic of Jerry Rice was legendary.
He was like the only one, right? Like he was ahead of it.
There was a lot of guys that worked with him, but he made it, normal.
Right.
He normalized it.
Yeah.
And, you know, I can remember, so you did have inspiration. I did have inspiration, you know, from guys that I looked up to. And I was always very competitive with myself. I was probably the hardest on myself than anyone. And so, you know, that came from probably my father, where I could remember going out and, you know, I got drafted. I came home and I went to my high school and I was doing some workouts, you know, with a coach. And I came home from work or working out. My dad rolls up 6 o'clock from work and asked me, "Did you outwork him?" I go, "Well, Dad, I was working with my coach." I'm not talking about that or if anyone was there. I'm talking about the 8 little kids that are in high school, 8th grade, that are going to come and try to take your job when they can. Did you outwork them? You know what I mean? So it was, I had this guy that, as in my dad, that would always just try to be up in my head.
Right.
Swim in there.
Was he an athlete?
He was, but he had, his father died when he was very young. And, you know, he didn't have someone to push him like that. Like he pushed me.
Yeah.
You know, and he played freshman football, got burned in the first game, was playing corner, got his feelings hurt, and quit, and then became a mechanic.
Wow.
You know, and you know, my dad would always say, I was just as good as those other kids. I was always at the top, but it was the guys that had the dads that pushed them.
Right.
They were always just that much better than me. And I think he took that to heart, and he pushed me really hard.
Interesting.
You know,
right?
so-
That like for him to quit but then know what to do, how to push you.
Yeah. You know, so
Was it frustrating at times?
oh yeah. I mean, we were doing batting practice, and this story's out there, but my dad was throwing batting practice when I was like 14 before a game. He'd take me out early and just get some cuts in. I was dipping my shoulder at Sequoia High School, and he brushed me off the mound or off the plate. And I was like I was a fucking little asshole, you know, like spitting at him. Bring it in here, Dad. Or, you know, but like thinking that he throws it again. I threw the bat. I charged mound. My dad 1-2'd me, put me on the ground. I went to the game with a bloody nose. You know, and that's just how it was. People be walking by and they'd be like, oh, old man Edelman with his son again. You know, so.
Yeah.
You know, I would say that, to get back to your question, I was definitely inspired by the pro athletes. You know, when I was a younger kid, or when I was in high school, we used to always, you know, the cool thing is if you got recruited to Division I school.
Yeah.
You know, so like we had this saying around one of my baseball teams I played on, where like if you were good, if something was cool, like that was a D1 play.
Right.
Yeah, you're so D1, bro. You know, yeah, like that's what you would say, like,
yeah.
You know. So, you know, you definitely have to pull from a lot of things, you know, from people that have been in situations that you've wanted to be in, for inspiration.
Yeah,
and then you also have to be able to be self-motivated and be able to compete against yourself. You know, that's. Sometimes when you're competing against someone, it'll raise you a level. But I want to, you know, how do you compete when no one's watching? You know what I mean?
Yeah. You converted to Judaism?
Didn't convert, didn't grow up anything, but practice. Now, my grandfather was Jewish, my dad's Jewish. So, you know, started learning about it in high school, you know, started going, like I said, my dad's dad died at a young age.
Right.
So I started to learn up on it and, you know, started talking with rabbis. And now, you know, me and my father every Friday speak with the rabbi just to study the Old Testament, study the Torah.
Oh, nice.
So, you know, I don't know what I am. I do. I feel like I'm Jewish. So I don't know if I would say that I converted.
Yeah. Did you felt that way growing up? Just because?
Nah, we didn't.
Not really.
We didn't do anything. Our religion was sport. You know, so
yeah.
That's kind of where it was. But
so when you started kind of paying a little more attention to it, was your dad along for the ride, or like you guys were doing just communicating and?
Yeah, he was along for the ride. And then he became. You know, there's a lot of family history. You know. You know, my grandfather had an affair with my grandma, left his family. So there's a lot of things that, you know, my grandma didn't tell my dad just because probably wasn't the best.
Right. People didn't talk about stuff then.
Yeah. And, you know, my dad respected that.
Right.
From, you know, a single mom that raised him. You know, he didn't.
Right.
He never pried.
Right.
I was the kid that pried.
Right.
You know, so.
Yeah.
And that's where it started.
And does it feel like does it feel familiar? Like
it does, because a lot of the things that we learn, my father, without really knowing, taught that way.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So like, I do feel like it's always been in me.
Right. That's interesting.
The more I learn about it.
Yeah.
And the more we study.
Are you enjoying it? Does it give you a good roadmap? A good guidance.
Yeah. I mean, anytime you get to learn and study, I study with Rabbi Hamilton out in, he's from Boston. And we hop on these calls and to hear his perspective and how he breaks down, the Torah and how he teaches us. I mean, it's a very great thing for me and my dad. It's something that we do together. And it just feels comfortable and it feels normal.
Yeah. It's amazing how there's a wisdom to all of it. There's everything's life is confusing. Life is very confusing. And to have teachers and pull from the Bible like that, these lessons, and you're like, your shoulders just relax. You're like, oh, this is written for so long ago.
Yeah.
You think from the outside, for very different people. It's like, no, they're going through the same stuff you were, same anxieties, same pride. This all of the same. And it's like, oh, there's actually a little bit of a pathway. Like there's guidance of how to live this life.
There is. I mean, and if you're willing to listen. Yeah. And you're willing to be able to learn. If you're willing to take the time. Yeah. So, it's been an awesome journey. Yeah. To go and get involved in.
How many years now? About?
Probably 15.
Oh, wow.
15 years, 16.
Yeah, that's not a fad.
No. Yeah.
So you enjoying this stage of your life? I mean, it seems like you've got it's very cool. It's been great getting to know you.
Yeah.
And I think we should hang more.
Definitely.
With or without Matt. And I think that it's it seems like you're enjoying yourself. It seems like from the outside, old football players, the careers were shorter, and then had a lot of life and not a lot of opportunities to kind of do stuff. It seems like you found a lot of cool stuff to do, and you got out of this crazy career healthy.
Yeah,
that's a blessing.
It is. Yeah, I do. I am enjoying it, but it's like anything else. You transition in who you are. Mm-hmm. Who I was during football, happily miserable, always, thinking about everything, even though, you say you're not supposed to, but you really do. You do that in your new life and with your new jobs and your new aspirations. The one thing I do get to enjoy a lot more than more than ever is being able to, say yes to your family a lot more and be around my daughter a lot more. Yeah. When you're a football player or someone probably in any field at the highest level. Yeah. You're almost like a mercenary where everyone in my family understood that I had a job to do. Yeah. So, weddings and birthdays and graduations, I could never say yes to because, I was in a mini camp or an organized team activity or, I was in the playoffs. Yeah. So that part has been awesome. Yeah.
Do you ever say yes to a family birthday party that's not like the real inner circle, and then you're like, oh, I can say yes to this, and then you get there and you're like, this really blows.
I've said yeah. But I still have a card. I gotta go. I got something. No. But it's been fun. Yeah. And but it's still, you do miss, that team environment, that camaraderie. Now I used to know for at least 4 years where I was going to be. Right. With the contract. And, you can get traded or whatever, but you had some. Now you got to go out and hustle and bustle and, you have to go out and do things. Yeah. So it's
awesome. It's almost like talking about like a veteran. It's like you've actually been through wars with these guys in ways, and it's like that brotherhood, that thing just only exists in the military, or that thing only exists in the NFL. Like, it's, there's got to be, now you're spit out and you're kind of on your own.
Yeah, I mean, very different than the military. We're compensated very well.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, that thing of relying on other men, and like, there's that brotherhood.
There is, you know, and that's what you try to create in your life with what you have going. Like, that's what we're accustomed to.
Right.
So that's what, you know, I try to have in my life with, you know, my production company guys and, you know, the team that works around me, you know, and you know, that you try to bring the things that you learned from that. Yeah. And the relationships that you had in that, and you try to transfer it over and do it. Yeah. And you know, you have a lot of, because of my career in football, there's a lot of leeway of where I get to choose what I want to do, and I get to choose the people you get to work around. Not always, that's great. But, you know, that's a pretty cool thing too.
What are the charitable things that you are closest to your heart?
Well, right now I work with Put Me In. It's based out of Boston and the Bay Area, and it helps kids with incarcerated parents be able to have, you know, after sport programs. You know, if a kid, you know, a lot of these kids, there's a terrible stat, you know, if your parent's incarcerated, you know, there's I don't know them off the top of my head. Yeah. But, you know, kids can go down the wrong road. And for the kids that want to join this program, Put Me In, that have an incarcerated parent, we help kids, you know, buy their equipment with mentorship programs. And you know, it's something cool. Yeah, that's great. That I like. I worked a lot with the Best Buddies for like a decade plus over in Massachusetts. Just did something with Dana-Farber, helps kids cancer treatments and the Jimmy Fund. So I mean, there's a lot of you know, charities that I've worked with in the past. Yeah, Boston Food Bank. You know, and it's pretty cool to it's really cool, honestly, to be able to or help put a smile on a kid's face that's not having you know, the best day. Yeah, that's great. You know, it sounds like a lot of them are kid based. A lot of kid based. Yeah, we do it for the kids. Yeah, it's great. We do it for the kids. Yeah, you know, that's really great. Well, I know you got to pick up your kid. I do. Yeah, we're pretty good though. Are we good?
10 minutes?
10.
10? 15? All right, good.
12:50, it'll take you 20 minutes to get there.
Yeah.
You feel all right?
I'm good.
All right, good.
Got one more? Mm-hmm. Couple more?
Mm-hmm. We can keep going.
You gave me a lot of time in mine.
Who cooked for you when you were a kid?
My mom.
Yeah? Was she good?
She was pretty good.
Or was she cranking
really
it out?
Good.
Yeah?
I mean, we ate at home a lot. You know, like, we were paycheck to paycheck people. Yeah. And she, you know, she was German, so she would every once in a while, like once a month, we'd get like a good German dish.
Oh, nice.
Like a Spätzle or some kind of Rouladen or roll coal, red cabbage.
Oh, nice.
But then she also cooked like a 1950s American mom.
Right.
A lot of stuff. You know, I'm talking hamburger helper.
Stuff from boxes and cans.
Yeah, boxes and cans, baby. Spaghetti every Wednesday, tacos every Tuesday.
Nice.
You know, I incorporate a lot of the same things with my kid. You know, I try to cook for her. You know, barbecues on the weekends. Nice. So my mom cooked for me a lot. And
what was your favorite? Like, did you have a?
She used to make. She used to make this goulash, Hungarian goulash with like this Swiss beef. It's like a stew.
Oh man!
And then she'd make these dumplings. It's very hearty.
Jeez.
Like these dumplings, and I loved that.
Oh man. That's a smell that fills up the house.
Oh, it does.
Yeah,
it does. I also love. I liked her German food, like Spätzle. It's like the little dumplings that she would saute some chopped onions, bleed them down, and you put a little Parmesan in there. And she'd always do things a little different than what her mom used to do. But those are the two that stick out.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the two.
I had my one grandfather was German, and but there was very little German food around.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't even know where. I guess my grandmother, that one grandmother, wasn't the greatest cook. And but yeah, any of that schnitzel kind of.
A lot of cucumber salads.
Yeah, like all of this scrapple and sausages and all that kind of stuff. I still have like it's funny how it's like kind of in your DNA. Like anytime I'm on the road and there's like a German restaurant, yeah, that stuff is just great.
Do you ever have Pfannkuchen?
No.
It's a German pancake. It's like a crepe.
Oh yeah.
My Oma used to make those for me. Or it's just, I mean, it's super easy. I make it for my daughter. You just throw some jam in there, you roll it up and cut it.
Like a crepe.
What's
it called again?
Pfannkuchen.
With
a P. P, I think. P-K or P.
Oma.
I
had an Oma. Oma was my great-grandmother. Yeah. It's so great. And what are you good at cooking?
I could cook. I do the Pfannkuchen pretty well.
Nice.
I'll do like a stuffed bell pepper here and there. Some rice and get a little Italian sausage, mix it with some ground beef or something like that. Make a red sauce.
Nice.
You know, I'm pretty good around the kitchen. If I have a recipe, I can go whip something out.
Yeah. You can go at it.
I can do it.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't say like I'm great on the barbecue.
Yeah.
I do the barbecue pretty good.
That's good.
But if I have like a refrigerator full of anything, or if I'm on like the last of my refrigerator, I can whip something up regardless.
Right.
Yeah.
That's good.
Make it taste good.
Nice. Would your daughter say you're a good cook?
I think she would.
Yeah.
I think she would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Pfannkuchen.
Pfannkuchen.
I want to look that one up.
It's a crepe.
Do you smoke weed or eat weed?
I smoke.
Yeah.
Yeah, smoke here and there.
Yeah. I'm trying to get back into weed.
Yeah. You know, it's pretty, you know, at the end of the day, lets you unwind.
Yeah.
You don't really, you drink a glass of wine, I start feeling it still. You know,
I know.
You feel it the next day.
The next morning. Yeah, even one glass.
Yeah.
I know.
You know, especially, you know, when you're an athlete, you couldn't drink because you leave yourself vulnerable of like pulling something because it dehydrates you. It's terrible for your recovery.
Right.
So, you know, I started smoking when I got into the NFL.
Really?
Yeah.
Did they test for it?
They did once a year.
Once a year.
And once
so was
you're
it
done,
kind of, yeah.
You were done.
So was it kind of common for people to get that test out of the way? And
well, so it's changed now where they know where the test is. When I was playing there, you could be tested like 4 times a year. So you'd have to stop for like a month before. I'm giving the plot. You stop like a month before the first date that you could get tested, and you know you potentially had to stop for 3 months.
Right.
You know, and then if you didn't get tested before training camp, everyone's tested.
Right.
So
it had to be great for recovery, just to like.
I think it was great for my mind, more to slow things down. You're always thinking,
right,
you know,
right,
this, that, you know,
yeah.
So that was something that I liked, you know, and made you kind of just want to. You can't when you're playing, you don't want to go out and do anything. You'd rather just smoke a doobie and lay at home and put the game readies on, and go through your nightly recovery routine.
Yeah, that's what I want to do. But I smoked when I was younger, but now I got to find the right one.
You do.
Because I'm not like some just, you shouldn't get high and then think immediately, when is this going to be over? You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, it's funny when when someone that hasn't smoked in a very long time, or they used to back when they were a kid, Marijuana's changed these days.
Yeah, big time.
The stuff you guys used to smoke was like
It was,
like 3% THC.
Yeah.
This stuff now is crazy.
I
So
know.
you have to
yeah.
temper it down and just take one and go.
Oh man, someone gave me an edible Rice Krispie thing, and
Yeah.
I was just like, "Blah, blah, 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 blah." And I tried to sit down and write, and I couldn't even get my fingers to work.
I don't like the edibles
Me neither.
because those last forever.
Yeah, and
They
I
last
don't.
for like 3 hours.
Yeah, and you don't know when it's gonna kick in. You're just walking around like, am I?
45 minutes. Just put a timer next time, Bubs.
Oh, really? And then you're out of your mind.
We've all done it where you eat it, you don't feel it, and
Yeah.
then you eat more, and then you're like, I did too much.
Joey's an edible machine. He does nothing but eat edibles.
You know, he's got low body fat.
He came on tour with me, and my opening act gave him like 2-3 edibles. He's like, "That's all."
I thought we were all gonna do it. I thought that was like the only reason. I was like, give him over. I'll start, and then nobody else does it.
You have high stamina.
I guess, yeah.
Got it.
Yeah, but it is a good thing. It is a good thing.
You ain't never heard anyone doing something crazy on weed.
No, they're kind. I know. You're exactly right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You've heard some crazy things on alcohol, other things.
Yeah.
You know, you never heard of a guy going in and murdering someone after smoking a doobie.
No, exactly.
So,
Yeah. Could you like wine now?
I do like wine.
Yeah, me too.
A Bay Area guy, man.
Yeah.
Love the wine.
Did you really go out with Jerry Rice's daughter?
I did. I did.
How did that happen?
We went to school in the same area.
Okay.
We grew up in the same city-ish. You know, so she went to like a rival school of mine.
Right.
You know, we became really close friends and
That's-
just dated off and on for a while.
Did you meet him at that time?
I did.
Was he intimidating?
Very,
Yeah.
very. I mean, the first time I met him, I think I rode my bike up to her house, and Mr. Rice came out with a really cool chain, no shirt, and a 12-pack. You know, when you're 13 years old, you see Jerry Rice, who's a living god at that time,
Good Lord.
come out. I think he had cornrows at that time, too.
Really?
Pretty terrifying.
Jeez. Yeah, he doesn't even have to say anything.
He opened the door and said, Jaquay. And I was like, oh.
Are you with someone now?
I'm talking with someone. Ish.
Mm-hmm.
Ish.
Right.
It's tough
Yeah.
dating when you have a daughter.
Yeah.
I'm trying to establish myself in something else.
Right.
You know, you figure out that life's really about time management.
Mm-hmm.
It's like a pie chart of time.
Yep.
Like, where do you want to put your time?
Yeah.
You know, majority of your time goes to your family, your daughter, your schedule is predicated toward
Yep.
that, and then work, you got to make money.
Yeah.
And then after that, you know, do you have that time to put into someone with the variables that you have going on in your life and
And their own pie chart.
their own pie chart? And you know,
Yeah.
you don't want to waste people's time.
Yeah. Yeah. Right. Well, it's got to be. Your options have to be a lot greater than Joey's. I think. Yeah.
Joe looks.
I
Never know, dude.
He's struggling.
Never know.
Yeah.
Like I said, UFC, combat, you know, you could have a tripod down there. This guy could be the guy.
You never know. We know.
So funny. Well, when you got to come out to a show sometime.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. Where are you?
That'd be fun.
Are you out here a bunch? You go to the store? Or you
Yeah, I go to the store a lot. I'm I do shows out here. I'm on the road a lot right now, leading
Yeah.
up to this next Netflix special. But
Let me know. I love going to the store.
yeah,
Like I used to go to see. Remember, I met through I think Sam, right?
yeah.
I used to go watch Sam at the Cellar.
Oh yeah,
When I
yeah.
was living in New York.
Oh, that's
Those
cool.
are the fun.
Yeah, it's the best.
And then you get to hang around the other comics and.
Yeah. It's a good scene. How long did you live in New York?
I lived there for 1 year.
Oh yeah, that was
Yeah.
enough.
No, I just Lily ended up starting kindergarten. She couldn't
Right.
come out as much, so
Right.
then I started commuting to New York from LA.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
Yeah. You like it out here?
I do. I mean, you find a good group of people.
Mm-hmm.
You know, the weather you can't beat.
Yeah.
There's good food.
Yeah.
There's activities.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a beautiful place.
Yeah.
I'm close enough to home. You know, it's pretty remarkable when you can come from the beach and see, you know, snow on the mountain.
Yeah, it is pretty great.
It's pretty beautiful.
I know.
Or you can go to, there's
Yeah.
so many outdoor activities here.
Yeah. Do you miss, like we said earlier, the cold weather people?
I do.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing.
You know, that's the people. People always say, you know, people from the East Coast are out. Yeah, they are, but you know what you're getting.
Right, exactly.
You know what I mean? You know what you're getting.
I know, 100%.
Out here, you know, you don't always know what you're getting.
No, you don't.
You don't always know what you're getting.
Yeah, it's like, just because there's palm trees and sunshine doesn't mean it's all paradise.
Yeah, those taxes are high too.
Yeah. All right, let me know how you do the bread.
Definitely.
Tomorrow morning with popping it in a toaster with a little butter.
Yeah,
That's the way I start my day.
got to.
Yeah.
I'm a big sourdough guy.
All right, good.
I appreciate you remembering that.
Yep.
I will be a tough critic.
All right.
You know,
I can take it.
Judging by the humidity outside,
Mm-hmm.
and I was just in Pescadero. You ever been out there?
No.
Artichoke capital of the world, about 35 minutes from Half Moon Bay up to 1 in the Bay Area. The humidity levels there make the sourdough
So, yeah.
so delicious. But the crust, the crunch, and I did smell it. It smells great.
Right?
Got to have that.
Yeah. It's more country loaf than like a tangy sourdough.
Yeah.
But I'll just let the bread do the talking.
Yeah, I mean, it looks, I like a good crunch, and I did feel the softness inside. That's the best part of the sourdough, or like a French loaf.
Oh, the best.
I like that crunch soft.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean?
How
did you get in?
I think you're
real
gonna
quick,
like it. Yeah.
nutshell, like baking.
Yeah. I was in a writer's room with a friend of mine. I always like to cook.
Yeah.
And I was in a writer's room with a friend of mine who had just discovered what sourdough bread was, that it had this starter, like this weird scientific
yeast,
science fiction yeast. Yeah. Like living organism that you feed flour and water. And he told me this whole story. And I told my kids at dinner one night, like that my buddy Max was telling me. And for Christmas, my daughter got a sourdough starter started.
Yeah.
Just put flour and some water and got the whole thing bubbly and gave it to me as a Christmas present. And I don't know. I just did it. I made my first couple loaves and I got hooked. I got really hooked on it. And it's meditative. It just is. I mean, it's been years now. And it just has folded into my life. I can't quit it.
I get that with my outside plants.
Uh-huh.
You know what I mean? It's something like with seeing the progression, putting the time in.
Yeah. And it's natural. There's
Natural.
something about it that's kind of grounding.
Baking's like a science.
Well, bread is kind of in between.
Is it?
Real baking and, I mean, it is a science. There's
Cooking
huge
is
books
an art.
on it. But cooking's like an art. You know, you feel
Yeah,
it. You like
yeah.
you said, the end of the refrigerator.
Here,
You're like,
we go
yeah,
there.
I'll make something
Eyeball
happen.
it.
Cakes and pastries, science. You mess up a measurement, which I'm sloppy, gone.
Or how you put the ingredients in.
Right. Yeah. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Putting the eggs one at a time rather than just. This is
Supposed to go
somewhere in
wet
between.
to dry, right? Wet to dry.
Wet to dry.
Isn't that what you're supposed to do? You put the dry in first, then you put the wet on top.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know more than I do.
I don't.
But this is somewhere in between where you can mess it up and kind of get it back.
Yeah.
And I just love it. And once I realized that we weren't eating real bread our whole lives, and that
What do you mean? Wonder Bread's not real?
turns out bread shouldn't have 50 ingredients. It should be 4.
Those 50 ingredients taste delicious with some peanut butter and jelly on it.
So
Bubs.
good. We had a toaster. The Wonder Bread got close to the toaster, and it melted, and the Wonder Bread dots were on the toaster my whole childhood. I still think about it like an old friend.
That's America right there, baby.
It sure is. Thanks for spending the time. This was great.
I appreciate it.
We're going to do more together for sure, unless
Definitely.
this is shitty, and then I will never hear from you again.
No, this is going to be delicious. And then the next time I come back, you got to do a Dutch crunch for me.
A Dutch crunch?
Yeah.
What's that? All right.
Take a little gander.
All right.
Tiger bread Dutch crunch. It's big in the Bay Area as well. It's
All
like
right.
put a layer of, it's like a bread, and then they put a layer of like a sweet layer on top.
Ooh.
Like with sugar bread on top.
I know.
And then
what
it
you mean.
crackles
Yeah.
on top, and it's chewy, soft. It's another Bay Area delicacy.
It's the least I could do.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
All right. I have a bag for you.
Awesome.
Thanks, Joey.